Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tucker and Crowley Report. I'm Mike Crowley, and I'm joined by Franklin Tucker, editor of the Belmontonian. So, Franklin, we've been through three sessions of, or 3 evenings of town meetings since we last talked. Let's talk about some of what's happening at town meeting, shall we?
Sure thing.
So first off, Franklin, let's talk about the special town meeting that was supposed to have taken place
Last night, it was concerning the traffic mitigation plan that the
this
town
is for
has
the McLean development.
for the McLean development, and it specifically states that the town has had an agreement with McLean since 1999, and then it was revised again about 10 years ago. And it basically says that it's really complicated and very dense type of agreement. But what it basically says is with McLean giving the town land, they get to build on the rest of the parcels. Part of that development plan has to do with traffic.
Mhm.
It's a way of basically keeping the traffic within livable bounds. Let's say you don't want traffic going through that new development 24/7. So it had thresholds. If the development, if there was more traffic than a certain amount every year, there'd be penalties. There'd be
Penalties levied against who?
Against McLean, or the developer. McLean gives the approval to build.
Okay.
So what happened is that they did give McLean wants to. They've given the ability to develop a parcel of the land called. So what they found out, the developer found out, is that because the restrictions and the thresholds are at a certain level, that banks and other financial people just won't give money to it. They find it too volatile. So the developer went back to the town and said, "Hey, we both want this to be built. We both want something being built at that site. So why don't we change a few parts of this mitigation plan?" And the town the town said, "Oh, that's okay. We agree that both of us would gain from this, and in fact, the town would gain a little bit more in terms of because there was during the process of looking at the issues, it found out that the town would gain, I guess, $110,000, and that would go to putting lights up at where McLean and
Okay, Franklin. So why
Pleasant Street.
why was this not ready for a vote at a special town meeting last night, as was the original plan?
It was just a little too quick. The developer came in just a few months ago and said, this is what we need. The town said we wanted to be, mindful of the developer and mindful that they want to have something built there. So they did it pretty quickly. That meant that there wasn't public meetings, and that's something that a number of residents have stated that they wanted to talk about. But this is an issue where I think the town basically wants this to go through quickly, rather than go through several months of public meetings and what else can we get from this. And I know there are a number of residents who want to come before town meeting and basically say, we're in favor of these developments, but we want to get more from it. We want more mitigation. We want less traffic, and these are the people who live in the area. And but the developer basically has the strong hand here. He is because if we don't follow through with the agreement, they can just go back to the pre-1999 days and just build whatever they want. And this is an important project because there's going to be commercial development at the very back stage, the fourth stage of this development.
Okay.
And no one wants to go to a situation of like the Belmont Uplands, where people pushed and pushed and pushed for green to make it a less dense project. And what happened is the developer just said, well, I'll build whatever I want. And they built Royal Belmont.
Okay, so we can anticipate then that there will likely be some sort of public hearing before this comes back to a special town meeting on June 22nd.
That's right.
June 26th, I'm sorry.
June 26th. I believe it's June 17th. There will be a public meeting in the area. They'll be able to discuss that. But I've talked to people at town meeting. There's not a lot of support for pushing this developer. They just everybody, and as one person said, this development, the project was approved by town meeting, a level like 250 to 3 or something like that. So, and I've talked to people who supported the residents who had issues with the above and below ground oil tanks, fuel tanks at the DPW yard. This sounds a little like that, but most residents are saying, well, let's just move on.
All right, let's talk about other things before town meeting. So the CPC funded projects, this was pretty smooth sailing, wasn't it?
It was, except for one. And the one was, surprisingly enough, the smallest amount, and that was, well, I don't think it was the smallest,
No,
but it was like what one person said, a modest amount, which was $275,000 that was going to go into the Housing Trust's Affordable Housing Fund, and that would increase the fund by $250,000. So you would then have $750,000, basically waiting for the trust fund to find a developer or wait till zoning changes so that they can help build affordable housing. Now
was it a surprise, Franklin, that this discussion started out with the select board and the warrant committee both registering their disapproval? Now it wasn't a unanimous warrant committee, but it was 11-4, voicing disapproval of this funding or this project.
And it was as the head of the warrant committee, Jeff Luvian, said, you already have $500,000 in your fund. Why aren't you using it? Why are we giving more and more without some kind of real plan on how you're going to be using it? So he said, this is just an example of where we're going to put our foot down from now on and make sure that, we get more information, and you're going to provide us with a lot more, what you're going to do with the funds. Just don't keep piling up money. Now, for the select board, and especially Elizabeth Dion, she made pretty quickly. She said this was going to be an issue because there's going to be changes for the CPC, and that is the funding sources are going to be drying up. And so in the next 6 years, and especially after the select board made a study on what big projects are going to come before the CPC, and they said, we just can't fund everything. Those days are over. When you give $1.3 million to a playground, and so they're going to be more strict on how they're going to be approving or these projects before the town meeting, and basically Elizabeth said this is going to be our first chance to show that we're going to put our word, we're going to put our words where where our mouth is.
A variety of people got up and spoke about the need for affordable housing. Will Brownsberger did.
Before he even came to
right.
that vote.
Then we heard from former selectman Mark Polillo and Adam Dash, both favoring moving forward with this funding.
And I think basically the biggest the reason why it passed was the person who was the sponsor for this money, and that was Rachel Heller of the Housing Trust. She was witty. She was very calm. She didn't take anything as if it was something that was going to go forward. And, she was just a perfect the perfect person to shepherd this project through the town meeting, and it passed with overwhelming support from the town meeting.
It did. All right. And so we also had capital projects being discussed, and they also tended to pass with
It not
little.
only passed, but passed by incredible margins.
Mhm.
Whether it was cameras, and it was what else?
Well, so for example, the boilers
The
for
boiler.
the generator. Now
And there
that
was a little
prompted a little bit of discussion about are there other alternatives?
to gas.
Yeah, like heat pumps
Mhm.
and so Dave Blazin explained just what kind of
Challenges you would have doing
right.
it by by like solar
You'd
or
have to
heat
shut
pumps.
down. You'd have to shut down the building for
A year basically.
yeah, right. And there's just no ability in the community to handle that kind of disruption to that very important building.
And you have to also realize that to do it in that way, you would need a staff a new staff to just do one building.
Right.
It's cost. It's not cost effective at this point.
Now, there were also questions about, I think the town's gas contract extends for another 3 years, and the terms are quite favorable, but nobody knows what's coming after that.
And that's what the
so
charity.
these boilers are in effect a 20 or 25-year investment, and we don't know what the long-term price structure is for.
And we know that the world is the United States especially is becoming a real leader in terms of natural gas production, and there is some justifiable worry for a lot of people is that under a new administration we could see gas production even go higher and gas price in natural gas prices going down. So that would you want to do green. This is where you would have a situation where do you go longer with green energy, or do you keep a really cheap source of energy? And that's what we're seeing here.
But in essence, I think the deciding, one of the most important deciding factors with the decisions made about how to approach this project was simply we can't afford the disruption to the building.
That's correct. It's just we can't put something offline for a year.
All right, so Franklin, another issue that's coming up before town meeting now, I think we're expecting that this will be discussed on Monday is a financial package to rescue our rink project.
Yes.
What?
Yes, they finally came up with a source of funding, and that will be $950,000 from the Kendall Fund, which is something that we've had in town for over 25 years. It's been there since the Kendall School, which was then an art a place where art was being done.
Mhm.
It burned down to the ground. So there's a little over $2 million in there. And there was something that in there, and people were worried that the entire Kendall Fund would be used to support the rink, because the rink is still $2 million in the rears. So what happened is that now it's going to be $950,000 from the Kendall Fund and $550,000 from the town's investment portfolio. Yeah, basically it's the gain, it's the profits from the investments that the town has made, that the town has received. And anybody who's had investments in the stock market over the past year, stocks or bonds, knows that this has been a very good period of time. And I was talking to Patrice Garvin, the town administrator. I said, "How did you come up with the package?" She said, "I was just trying my hardest, just looking at it all over the place, on the books. Like, what can we do? Where can we get the money?" And then she just said, "I looked at the investment portfolio, and I'm like, oh." Of course, that's where we're going to get it.
Well, so if the town was invested in NVIDIA,
yeah.
we could pay for everything with our investments.
Exactly. So this is something that is going to, I think, is going to pacify, and that's really the word, pacify people who on town meeting who may have been saying, let's go with option B, which there really isn't an option B. There's a option A, which is accept the money from the town and then move forward with the project, and basically, knock on wood if we to get it built, but because the option B, which we use the money that you have, just wouldn't build a rink that that anybody would want. So basically, what we're going to have on Monday is a up or down vote on the future of the rink.
All right, Franklin. And what's your expectation about the folks at town meeting who will say, you really shouldn't be putting up buildings any longer without energy mitigation measures built into them. So there will be no solar on the rink roof as part of.
That's right. There will be no solar, but it is being built to quickly put solar on. I mean, it's going to have all the wiring. It's going to have all the mechanics. It's going to have everything in place. So when money is found for the solar arrays, they can be placed immediately up. Now, there are people who say, well, there's money out there that we can use. Now it's a situation of, look, usually we'd like to get the money from grants and government agencies and put it at the very beginning of the project. Now it's going to be at the end of the project. The project will be built, but if that money can be found, and we've been hearing from a lot of people in the Energy Committee and people who are supportive of solar power saying there's a lot of money out there still. Now we can see if those people can, working with the town, can receive that money.
Okay, Franklin.
Receive that money for the arrays.
Okay, so let's just talk briefly about any plans for a future of hybrid town meeting.
Yes, hybrid town meeting. That's the gold standard for so many people in town.
Well, this has come up again, Franklin, because the select board has decided for the special town meeting on June 26th
for the traffic mitigation.
Right, that will be when that will be remote.
Completely remote. This is not a hybrid. This is completely remote.
And so you have some town meeting members saying that hybrid and remote options are okay when it's for the convenience of the select board, but how about us?
Oh, well, there's something to that, but right now, having heard what the select board has said, and what I'm hearing from them is they'll come back with the debate on hybrid, but it's not going to happen until the annual town meeting next year. And the reason for that simply is that Belmont doesn't have an IT department. We have one and a half.
We've lost two people, but why are we assuming that it's going to take an entire year to replace these two people that we've lost?
Well, you lost two people. Well, what they're doing now is they're trying to find, and they're trying to basically poach a very good IT specialist who can come and do an array on IT in this town, do an overview, and really move forward on IT for not just hybrid meetings, but also everything in town. There have been talked about there is a lot more bad actors out there using technology to invade town systems, and hold them for ransom. The town realizes that, and they are going to be looking for a real pro to run this. Now they said, look, we know we're going to be in November. We're going to have a special town meeting, and that has to do with the MBTA communities zoning changes, and that'll be up for vote in November. And but that person, who we hire, who the town hires, it's not going to be prepared. So, they're going to be sitting. He or she is going to be sitting there going like, where's the Homer house? They're just going to just be brand new. So, and we also have a very limited number of people in the town clerk's office. So November is not even going to be an issue. Really, it's going to be up to in April. And I predict that it would be a pretty. I don't know if hybrid would pass by that much. I think I hear a lot of people saying, look, it's only a few times in the year that we're asking people to come to town meeting. There are events such as what we saw here. Out of the ordinary things are happening. And we would need to be in a remote because everybody's going to be on vacation in the Cape. So, but I think when we tell people that 6 months ahead of time that these are the dates that we would have to be here, I can see a limited hybrid, maybe for people who really are in a pinch, but not a hybrid where you're elected to town meeting and you decide, well, I'll just do it hybrid because it's it's more favorable to me.
Well, I have to see. How much support that the town is willing to provide to this, and how much town meeting members continue to agitate for some form of hybrid for town meeting. All right, so Franklin, let's move on to sports.
Yes, we sports has been. We're finally coming down to the final days of sports. We had a lot of sports teams that went into the playoffs. Boys and girls lacrosse lost in the first round, but they held up their heads high. They had very good matches for both of them. Boys and girls tennis, they got into the quarterfinals, and where they met really very good opponents. For Belmont, it was Winchester, who they haven't beaten, and that's a league opponent also. They haven't beaten Winchester in a long time. And the boys went to the best team in the state, and that's St. John's Prep, and they actually lost only 4-1. Baseball lost in the first round. Softball continued its great season by actually winning its very first playoff game at home ever. So it was a 2-0 over Everett. They then went to one of the best teams in the state in Wachusett, and they held themselves really well. In softball, scores seem to run up all the time, and they only lost 7-0. I mean, this team is full of freshmen and sophomores. So this should be our Cinderella team. They did so well. And finally, our only team that's in the playoffs right now is girls rugby, and they're going for their 6th straight state championship on not this Saturday, but the Saturday next in Milton. And they beat Lincoln Sudbury in the semifinals 72-5. So how they're pretty good. So we could see another state championship coming back with the girls.
All right, Franklin, thank you. As always, you can find more of Franklin's reporting at belmontonian.com, and that is all for next week. See you next time.